Hi there, my name is Pablo Requena, and in this video we are going to be revisiting a subject that I touched on some time ago, but it looks like I have quite a few students who have been asking me about it. It doesn't seem to be like a very clear, straightforward concept, so I'm going to try to explain it again, perhaps in a more dedicated way. So this is all about how to get the right angles for the tiles that we use when we make a rosette. So to be able to illustrate that, I've got a few soundboards here, and these are three soundboards from three of my students that I've got in the current course that I'm running at the moment. So I'm just taking the opportunity that they are out of the workshop at the moment, and I'm just going to do this quickly so that I can show you. So I've got three different situations here with different stages where you can actually see what we are be looking at. So you got one first rosette here, and this is already glued in and in place. It looks a little messy because it hasn't been cleaned up. This is not flush yet, but we're going to be looking at the center section of the rosette. And in a rosette like this one, which is this one is not too complicated. It's kind of based on a design of Torres, but my student wanted to change a few things, so he's customized it to his own style. And in here you got two main elements. You got these lines that go all the way around. Let me get a pencil so that I can point things up a bit more easily. So you've got the circle strips, and then you got these tiles in the middle. And in this one you have this small checkerboard made by 4 by 4 millimeters, and each one of those squares is 1 millimeter square. And then you got this black piece of ebony which is filling in between. So the idea is that when we design our rosette, we are going to be breaking down all the components, and when it comes to the design of the center motif, or what we also call the tile design or the tile section of the rosette, when we design it, let me show you this one here. This is one of the designs from the students, and it's the one that we're going to be working on a bit. It's very easy to make quite a big design, and when I say big, what I mean is that we've got each one of these squares represents 0.5 millimeter. So here you go here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 23 squares. So 23 squares will give you something like 23, 12, so 11.5 millimeters in width, which is kind of big. And then in terms of the height, let me see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So again, 15 squares, when you divide that in half, because each one of these represents 0.5 millimeter, then you've got 7.5, 7 times 2, 7, 7, 14, so yeah, about 7.5 millimeters. So once this is done, and all of this has been assembled, and again, this is not the subject for this video, we're not going to be seeing how to make this. All I'm going to do is that I'm going to show you the end result of this work. And basically we have this rod, which is long enough so that now we can cut it in sausages, and you know, the strips in tiles. And basically when we put the tiles together, one next to each other, this will have to go around the circle of the rosette. Now the problem is with this one, it's a very good way of explaining this, because here we got two issues. One of them is that here we have a bit more than 12 millimeters, so 12.3 millimeters in width to go around the rosette. So let's bring the soundbox here. And I've done a little layout of where the rosette will go, which you can see here. And this tile is going to sit somewhere in the middle of this section there, and you have to go all the way around. So you can see this is just a little bit too long to do a nice flow of a curve. So when you have something this big, the best thing is to split it in two. So now this is a little bit more manageable, because what it means is that we can work on each one of these and we can get the right angles in these two faces, so that then the whole thing will go around the circle much more easily, rather than looking like a circle that instead of flowing nicely all the way around, it goes in flats, which it won't look as nice. So what we're going to be doing is, in each one of these, now we need to see what kind of angle we need to apply to these two faces, so that when we cut this strip into tiles, all of them go, instead of going in a straight line, which is what they would want to do if we leave it like this, because this is a rectangle, what we want is for them to meet together and go into a nice arch. So let me show you what we've done with my other student, because he's a little bit more advanced in this process. And here you can see that he's made a tile, a design that is a little bit perhaps more realistic in dimensions, and it's a little bit easier to work with. So here you have, this is 7.5 millimeters wide, and the height is 5.6. So this is altogether much more manageable. However, it's doable in any circumstances. So what we've done here is that, I don't know if you can see how we already have an angle in each one of these two faces. So what this means is that once we cut this up, and you can see this is quite small already because he's already cut this into tiles, and what will happen is that as we bring this together, you can see very easily how this is going to create an arch. And this is a little bit fiddly, especially when it's outside the rosette, just on the bench, but you will see how this goes around the circle instead of going in a straight line. So I'm going to just put a few together, and you can see already a little bit of an arch. So when I compress it, this is already starting to create an arch in there, as you can see. So what this means is that each one of these pieces now is not a perfect rectangle. We have these two faces, this face and this face are parallel to each other, but then these two faces are converging into one point, which is actually the center of the rosette. So now, in practical terms, how do we do this? Well, this is a very simple process, and there's a very simple geometrical formula to do it with. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to do a diagram on a piece of paper first, and I'm going to draw it big so that we can actually see a little bit better what we are doing. So in this piece of paper, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a pen like here, and let's say that this is the tile that I want to shape. Okay, so, and then in here we have our design, so to speak. So like I was saying before, if I have several of these squares and I bring them together, they want to go in a straight lines. For this to go and have an arch following the right arch, what we need to do is that we need to have a bit of a taper in this side, like that, and then we need to have a little bit of a taper in the other side, like this. And these ones, they're actually gonna meet. This might not be accurate to, let me see if I can get the middle. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in the middle of this one, this is where the center would be. So let's say that this is going to go to here. And this is going to go to here. So this point where they meet, this would be the center of the sound hole and the center of the rosette. So from the center we can work out and we can calculate the angles that we need to create. The only thing is that, and this is what most people find a little bit confusing, is that when it comes to do this job, what we actually have to do is that we have to make sure that instead of cutting all the taper from one side, which means that then we have two parallel sides, but this side now, it will not go into the center of the sound hole, only this one would do. What we need to do is to have a situation where our tiles have one portion of the taper in one side and then similar portion of the taper in the other side. So effectively it's like if we're doing half of the taper and then the other half is in the other side. So to be able to do this, what we're going to do is to put our tile on the bench, and we're going to work out the distance from the outside of the position of the tile to the center of the rosette. And then that distance, to be able to cut, so if we cut along here, we will be cutting the complete taper only in one side. So I'm going to do this line here so that you can see what I'm talking about. And this shape will fit in the rosette, but these two faces will not follow the arch that we need to. These corners will be sticking out a little bit. So in a way, it's like if you have, let's have a look up here. It's like if you have all the taper in one side, this will fit, but it's like the design is kind of slightly in an angle. So it's not going to work properly. So what we actually need to do is that we need to be able to cut half of the taper to start with, and if we want to cut only half of the total taper, or the total angle here, then you can see in here we're going to cut only half. So what it means is that we need to double the distance to be able to achieve that. So we're going to make another line here so that you can see that actually, you know, this is the meeting point, and whatever this distance is, this is twice that distance. So hopefully it will make sense, and what I'm going to do is that I'm going to actually do it on the wood itself so that you can actually see what this means in real terms. So we're going to need a working board so that it's a little bit easier to do this, because we need to clamp a few things on this board. So I'm just going to put this board in here like this, and I'm going to hold it nicely with a couple of clamps. And then I'm going to work out what are the distances and the dimensions that I need. So basically, I've got in this soundboard, I've laid out all the lines that we need to work with. So what we have here is that from the top of the soundboard, which is this line here, this will come off in a minute, but this is the line where the soundboard will meet the neck, and it's also the 12th fret position. So from this point to the edge of the sound hole, which is this point, we have 105 millimeters. And this is the distance relevant to a 650 millimeters square length. Then from the position of the sound hole, then we can mark 43 millimeters down, and this will be the center for this sound hole, because we want to have a sound hole that is 86 millimeters in diameter. So this will be the radius 43. So once we have this position, then we have 3 millimeters here, and then the rosette is going to be 18 millimeters in width. So this is 3 and this is 18. Okay, so now that we know where the rosette is going to be situated and the dimension of the rosette, all we need to do is to get the tile itself, so this one here, and because the tile goes up this way, so it will go in this direction, all we need to do, and we can do this by eye because it's very easy and reasonably accurate, and all I want to do is to make sure that the tile will go in the middle of the section for the rosette, and I'm going to have this distance and this distance to be the same. If it's not super accurate, I don't mind, and this is why I'm doing it by hand, because you can see that this is not really so important. What's important is that it's reasonably in the center, and it's very easy by eye to see if these two are the same dimension, and they are. So what I'm going to do is to put a mark in here, and another mark in here. And basically now this is where my tiles will sit. And the rest of the rosette, this space and that space will be filled with straight lines which will go in a circle. So now that we have this dimension, what we need to do is to find out what's the distance from the center to the outside of the tile. Okay, so the distance from the outside of the tile, which is this position there, so from here we have 59 millimeters. Okay, so 59 millimeters is the distance from the center of the rosette to the outside part of the tiles. So I'm going to write it down here, 59. So with that dimension, what I'm going to do is, in my working board, I'm going to come to this edge and I'm going to mark 59 millimeters. So I'm going to make a mark here, 59 there. And then I'm going to do a second mark again at 59 again. 59 here. So that's going to give you a total of 100 and something. So these 2 points are the ones that I need to work with. And then I'm going to do the same at the other end of the board. So I'm going to do 59 in here. And that's my mark. And then 59 again. And I'm going to mark this point. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to cut one side of the tapers, and what it is that I need to go for the double of the distance of the radius that we have. So what I'm going to do is to place a straight edge on here, basically on the second mark that I did, and I'm going to clamp it in position like this. And in here. And what I have now is that I can work with this straight edge as a stop, so that it's always placed in the right position. And now all I need to do is to have a sanding block like this one here, and I can rest the sanding block in this edge and then just work on this face of the rod with tiles are going to be cut from, and I can get this angle into here, because at the moment this face is horizontal, but now we're going to set an angle in it. Now the thing is that if I just go on like this, I'm going to start cutting on this edge as well, and if I cut this edge, then this is not going to be very accurate. So one thing that is important is to get a little bit of masking tape on this end of the sanding block, so that the sandpaper is not going to be cutting this edge. So this means that now this is not going to cut here, so this edge is not going to change, and it's going to cut only here. Now the other thing that we're going to do is that we want to know how much do we need to cut. So to know that, what we're going to do is to get a bit of white pencil, and I'm going to make, to know which way this is going to go, I'm going to make a mark here. But I know the black goes to the outside and this one goes to the inside anyway. So what I'm going to do is to place some pencil marks on this section, and on this one. Okay, so now what this means is that, let me have a look at this just to make sure that I'm getting this right. Okay, so no, I got this wrong. I was going to make a mistake here. So instead of being these two faces, they're actually, it's two face and this face that we need to do. You can see how easy we can get this confused. So what I'm going to do is to clean these two to make sure that we're not going to get anything wrong here. And I don't want to sand too much because I don't want to lose the dimension that we have here. Okay, and what we're going to do is that I'm going to do it on the other one so that you can see. So basically we have, this is going like that, so if this needs to be standing up, then what it means is that we need to have an X in here, and this X is the one that always has to go against the ruler, because we want to have the taper in this face and in this face. So what we're going to do is to mark these faces like this and like this. In this one we are only going to have the white at this point because it's no point to have it anywhere else because it's not going to show, and in fact you can see here it doesn't show very well, but it does show in this part of the black, so this will tell us when we need to stop. So let's do it. I'm going to put this over here, and now, by the way, this is not that I'm doing the work for my students, I'm just doing a little bit knowing that he's going to be doing the other one and he's okay with this. So it's like, don't worry, I don't usually make the guitars for my students when they're doing my courses. I don't sneak in the weekends and get the guitars done. It's not like that. But anyway, having said that, this was a good opportunity to be able to demonstrate this, and that's why I wanted to show you. So basically what we do is to do a bit of sanding. This is resting in here, I'm not lifting it, and I'm only going to do a little bit at the end, I don't want to do the whole thing. And you can see how the white pencil line is disappearing, and we only have a little bit left here. So what this means is that this angle that is being created here is kind of progressing until eventually it will be the whole width. So I just need to do a little bit more. So actually I want to get the vacuum cleaner here. I'm going to make a bit of noise. And you can see how the white is got just a tiny bit left in here. So what it means is that the whole of this side is done. And we would carry on doing the whole thing, so until all of this face is completely done, and then all we need to do is to do this face here. So to do this side, once all of this is done, what we need to do is to shift the ruler to the first position. So now all we need to do is to bring this ruler into here and into here. And then with the face that we did, but this time face down, and with the mark that we did to the outside also against the ruler, we place it into here. And then I'm not going to do it this time because I don't want to mess this up for my student, because really this cannot be done properly until the whole thing is done here. But basically what will happen now is that we can do the same thing and clean this face until all is clean and the white mark at this edge is gone as well. What that will mean is that then we have the angle in both sides in it doesn't show here very well because this doesn't line up, but basically we would have the angle in both sides. So what that means is that once we had the two of them done, and well, there's two options here. We could either do the two of them, but this is much more than we need, or we could do just one, and then each tile can be used in reverse and it will work exactly the same way. So either way, you will get the same result. But basically the idea is that by the time now we cut this in slices or into tiles, we will have the same that we've got with this other situation that I was showing you before, which means that each one of the tiles has already the right tapers on the sides to be able to go around and form the arch that we need. So this is a little fiddly, it's a little technical. I know this is about geometry, so it might not be so easy to explain. I hope I was able to clarify, and if still you don't understand it so well, please ask any questions you might have. I'll be very happy to answer them. And then also, if you're interested in building your own guitar, you can come along here, join one of those courses that I run here in my workshop in the south of Spain, near Malaga. And it's a great experience. You'll end up making all the components by yourself, building a guitar that you're gonna enjoy for many years. You take it home and you enjoy, and you know, it's a great experience. So if you want to join me in one of these courses, just go on my website and the link is in the description. And otherwise, until the next video, and thank you for watching.